everybody for coming this evening. I really appreciate it. Khentrul Rinpoche is a Rime master and Jonang Kalachakra scholar, and tonight he'll be speaking to us about one of his books, A Happier Life, which we have available, but is also just really a pleasure to read because it kind of helps us understand all different times in our life when and different ways that we can practice in each moment to really have a happier and better life. So it kind of covers the full spectrum. And just I pass this out, so if you feel like joining in, we'll do the request for teaching. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the virtuous merit created by listening to the Dharma, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the virtuous merit created by listening to the Dharma, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the virtuous merit created by listening to the Dharma, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the bliss that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and aversion. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and make oceans of offerings, both real and visualized. May I purify my negative karmic seeds from the beginning of time, and rejoice in the virtues of all ordinary and extraordinary beings. May the enlightened ones remain until samsara ceases and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. May the virtues accumulated by all beings be dedicated towards attaining Buddhahood. Om Vajra Bhumya Hum. The foundation is the pure golden earth. Om Vajra Reke Ahum. The universe is encircled by a great iron fence, and in the center is Mount Meru, the king of mountains. To the east is Lukpakpo, to the south is Zambulin, to the north is Dramanyen, and to the west is Benglachod. The sun, moon, Rahu, and Kalagni. All things pleasing and prosperous within the world of humans and gods, complete and lacking nothing. All this wealth I offer with great devotion to my immaculate root and lineage lamas, and the mandala of Yidams, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Pratikas, Shravakas, Dakinis, and all-seeing Dharma protectors. Out of compassion, accept this mandala for the sake of all beings, and having accepted this offering, please bless me. Guru idam ratna mandala kandaryatayami. We sincerely request from the Glorious One, the kind and compassionate One, the teachings of common and uncommon vehicles suitable for all beings. May we comprehend the Dharma in our minds and develop all Dharma qualities.
Hello, everybody. So, not my expectation, but my wish that many young people and teenagers and these people come and discuss how to be happy. So I believe you guys already know. But the opposite. So, okay. So we try to discuss tonight, and then you guys hopefully can talk into these young, lost people. Okay, so you did the formal way to prayer begin, so maybe I also have to, right? Never the mind, I think do some prayers is good, because do prayers means we should understand the prayer means not something you ask. Instead, you generate some gratitude, appreciation, something like good quality. So in that case, I think I do some homages. Usually I do that. Only takes 2 minutes, so you guys can consider as a relaxation or concentrating, kind of form some kind of meditation. So let's begin to do that. Jirgin shilzun kamsame chuji jero sichinu nyabji dala kwadana sangi ni lama malu doyi kanji zomi do huda hudu gaya diban moro sukurcho nana tonji kambala dandya chani da chashon Kanga tuzi nyaloni ta tamshir hoi shir tambi chunar tonzir bi godam de la sham saramu Yara sonza jirvi tonu ma lu karjai chaprangi tonam tartu kolmo tamihik de shanya orton ki jasu shamba dame saksaman pakwa tomeja Arji tambi nurtan tonan de nyongzamo yachinri khi chon khi ba Kyakten jakrandan pakhala jola sompon yela mada Mayo sundana dorji nanjurai jiyon sunda Kuyesavje manda hanjar Adadi lan jansa ngala juja tujibana la hurmadi Kanjige tambi dungru kanse yangubi dela nudu chosarwa Awanjil manga dondun la subi zay lama Nala halay hurmadi Shafsana dungara chandra chejin jinen yasu hone hoi yargilas Sinchina donlam yatna domchana Tambanam jinum ta tzadu Okay, so first, why we are here? We want to be happy. But when we say happy, I think we have to think something is a border view. Because when we say happiness, probably different people have different interpretations. But we should not think about just a little pleasure or we should not think something small. Happiness is something we should think something mental well-being and go beyond that. if that way, then happiness is everybody need. It's not exceptions. There's no exceptions. So who is not here is not the reason they don't need happiness. Just be aware of that first. And then we make some simple categories of happiness first. Let's say conditional happiness and non-conditional happiness. All happiness should be included. That is nothing to exclude. But when we say unconditional happiness, we have to understand is conditional or not conditional is only difference, degrees only difference. But almost not possible, there's not absolute unconditional happiness. Okay? And then, as much as unconditional, less conditional, and then is much better. And it's too much conditional, then is less happy. The quality of happiness is much less. So try to understand that. So you understood? Yeah? Okay. So now we can make categories from these two categories. Okay? And then each category of this, which type of the happiness is better than the other happiness. We have to compare like that. So this is a process to understanding what is, more quality of the happiness. So let's say, first, you can say happiness is the one happiness is this the five senses pleasures. Five sensory pleasures. So which means this happiness is very dependent on five senses. What do you experience through the five senses? So this happiness we consider is not the great happiness, the least happiness. Why? Because it is not you cannot enjoy through the five senses. Of course you can enjoy through the five senses. But the quality is less. Which means if we have something material very beautiful looks like, but bad quality, that kind of. So why is it not good quality? Because too much conditional. So your happiness is really, really dependent what your five senses can experience. So that kind of happiness is very unpredictable, unstable, and if you didn't get the five sensory pleasures, then you have nothing to hold on. So the modern world is very much dependent on this happiness, especially looking for on your phone almost 24/7. This is five sensory happiness. So, okay, so we consider this happiness not saying nobody needs this. Also not saying you never gain great happiness from five senses. We're not saying that. But in general, this is at least the happiness quality. Okay, so the second level of the happiness I call, this is not a structure in my book. This book is wrote in maybe 15 years ago. So today my structure is new. But I'm sure still you can relevate this. So I call ego competition happiness. Okay? Ego competition happiness. So this is not is dependent on your five senses. Not totally. But more ego driven. So this happiness is only you get, you something can compare. This is a lot of majority people dependent on this happiness. It's not absolutely you need something, but you want to compare, you want to compete. You want to compare and you want to compete because your ego said, do that. So this is also very much conditional happiness because we always think, I will be very happy if I have this. So everything is if, you know. I will be very happy if I have this job. If I am very happy if I have this status. If I am very happy if I have this recognition. If I am very happy if I have this much wealth. And if I have this kind of relationship, then I'm happy. Everything is if. So you compare it. And also you will always happy, you compare somebody and then you are better than this. But you always unhappy, you compare somebody else, you are less. Then why this is a little bit better than five sensory happiness? Why? The only reason a little bit better is there's some other qualities involved, other mental factors, such as like determination, enthusiasm, how to say, distance involved, then a little bit better. Why? Because you not get happiness only after the result, but when you doing this ego, how do you say, ego commanded you to do this, and I try to achieve this, compete somebody. Ego only tell you that, and then you try to serve the ego, but you have not enough determination and enthusiastic, and you're not strong enough basically, and then it's difficult. But if you are strong enough to compete and try to achieve this, and then you forgot unhappiness. But the 5 sensory pleasure ones, when you didn't get this 5 sensory pleasure, then you are depressed very easily, because you don't have other factors that support you. But this one is a little bit better if there is other mental factors involved. So when you win the competition, you're very happy, but very short term. Only short term. Sometimes you don't even get that, because if you are really strong, working hard, you're not very happy, but you're also not very unhappy. You're not completely depressed, basically. So that's why, that's why a little bit better, but still ego serving. You are servant for the ego. So that's why you taking your own freedom through the ego. Ego taking your freedom. So that's why it's not perfect. So the majority humans' happiness is really dependent on these two types of happiness. Only get that. So, people didn't learn how to be happy properly. For those people, I'm saying, when I didn't learn means, it doesn't mean you have to learn from a teacher or book. Some people just naturally learn, and some people need teacher, book. But as long as you're not learning, you just normal human beings' expectation and this imagination, life is become a better, always something you're looking for, always better. And that kind of typical human beings, only these 2 types of happiness you can get. So this very much conditional, but even conditional means there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee happiness. you will try to achieve it. But the second one, you're not too extremely unhappy through the process. Of course, there's differences. Some people have not much other mental factors. And then, yes, differences, but in general. So now, the third level of happiness, I would say, you get happiness from the acceptance. You know, acceptance is the really important. Because the most of unhappiness from we not accepting what the situation, or whatever you say, your karma, or your, your destiny, or whatever you call, you're not accepting the reality. So some people have naturally accepting mind. So this kind of people, less suffering and more happiness. Think about this, like ego competition. Even you had you can have the ego competition. But who is not accepting one, when you compete, you lost, don't accept. But this one, you accepting. You compete in the same thing, but the result, you accepting the loser. You're lost. Or your obstacles. All of them, you accepting. So that means that some degree, more degrees, you are happier. Happier means less suffering. The only difference is you accept the reality. You accept the worst scenario. And then the next fourth level of happiness is fourth. Second. Yes. Fourth level of happiness. You not only accept it, but you understand it. You understand what is the life is. What is the life and death. You can say pardo, whatever this circle, you understand. So there's differences. You accepting without understanding, or you without understanding means you accepting when there's no choice. That time you only accepting. So that means until you didn't have any other choices, until then you have expectations. But who understand the natural reality, for them, you're not expecting anything absolutely. You could be incredibly enthusiastic and determined, try to achieve something, looking for the achievement, many things. But at the same time, you understand could be go very, very wrong and turn the opposite result. And you know from the beginning. I mean, you know means it's not you predicted, but you know the possibility. So that's why when everything goes wrong, and when you are lost or obstacle, whatever happens, your suffering is much less than the others. So that's why sometimes the so-called happiness, I don't know the exact word, but it's very high, and then possibility very low.
Extreme?
Yes, extreme. What do you call it? Influ. Sometimes the market, what do you call it?
Flux.
Fluctuation.
Huh?
Fluctuation?
Fluctuation, I don't know. Whatever. Like this, possibility, have like this. Up and down, too much up and down. But when you are steady, you understand the life and nature, and you appreciate every moment, that kind of a mental attitude, then you're not incredible, enjoy, but you're always steady. So the steady life, and then up and down, very happy and very this one, you together compare, and then the steady one much better, much accurate, much quality. So that's why I say understand the life, understand the nature, understand the consequences, whatever you do. And also, we have to understand the consequences bigger than, what we think. Which means we have to understand karma. Karma, karmic propensity, karmic actions. Which means really, in this part, you have to understand very extensively the karma. When you understand karma, you understand life. Why? And also you don't blame anybody, because you're not expecting any God or anybody helping you and rescue you. And also you're not blaming anything or you're unfortunate to somebody else's fault, because you understand the circle. So that's why you have no inner complaining. So that's why your life is steady. Your happiness is steady. So that's why five sensory happiness, ego competition happiness, accepting happiness through the acceptance of the life, and happiness to understanding the life, nature of the life. These four, all of them conditional happiness, but one another less conditional, not too much on condition. Let's say your life is dependent completely on your family or or let's say your life is completely you dependent on your something external conditions, or but you're not dependent on external conditions, but your own capacity, still conditional, your own capacity means you can draw yourself, you can, many things you can do for yourself. It's still conditional, but it's, you see, everything you can do yourself is better than dependent on others. So similar, the happiness, of course everything is dependent on cause and condition, but you depend on external conditions, like five senses pleasures means mostly, five senses objects is external. Ego computation, ego is inside, it's not outside. So that's why a little bit better. And then you acceptance is better because your ego is not completely ignorant and arrogant. Instead, you are a little bit humble. You accept it means you are humble. So we know we like humble people, we don't like arrogant people.
That's the truth.
The same thing. It's very similar. So inner humbleness and inner arrogant, very different. Different result, different consequence. And then you understanding the nature of the life, which means really you understanding the impermanence, nature of the impermanence, the nature of unpredictable, or you can say you understand the interdependence of the life. So that kind of wisdom, so that's why it's better. So wisdom we need everywhere. Whatever degree of wisdom, even a little degree of wisdom is always helpful. Without this wisdom, even your love, even your compassion, not very beneficial over the time. You need companion of the wisdom. So that's why all of them conditional, but in conditional different ways. And that's why we can say, comparatively we can say the last ones, the higher level ones, we can say unconditional. It's not totally unconditional, but is comparatively unconditional. So that's why I say from beginning, I say conditional happiness, unconditional happiness. Unconditional happiness better. Why? Because you are not so much dependent, not 100% dependent on circumstances. You have inner ability to be happy yourself, not totally dependent on circumstances. Okay? So, and then the question, is there any absolute unconditional happiness? Is it exist? So the answer is yes. The answer is yes. But you can say, is that achievable? Is anybody can achieve? How much? If we buy, maybe that question you have, I mean, that kind of question can anybody have? The answer is, no, you cannot buy by material price. No, not possible. Even not necessarily you achieve through your determination and ego-driven. Ego-driven, definitely not achieve that happiness, not possible. But it's your determination. Let's say, let's say there is something incredible determination, enthusiastic, without ego. Can we achieve this? Still probably not. Okay? So that sounds very difficult, right? You can't buy billions you can pay, you can't buy, right? And you, no matter how you are determined and brave, and you can achieve. Okay, then what do we do? We have to generate the pure love and the pure compassion and the pure wisdom. Through this, then is possible. But even these three, not together, one of them, no, not possible. Okay, even the love, no. Why? Because there is no perfect love without wisdom. There is no perfect love without compassion. That's why. So when I say this, sounds familiar to you, you got some idea, oh, okay, I know what is love, I know what is compassion, okay, I know what is wisdom. Do you think that? Because you hear so many times. So especially you, when talk like that kind of spiritual, philosophy, you hear many times, you read many times in the book. So I have explanation on the love and compassion, wisdom, very extensively in the books. And still I have more than the books. But if we say very briefly today, we have to understand first, love and compassion, wisdom, all inseparable. If it's real, then it's inseparable. Okay? But if it's real and complete, then it's inseparable. But normally people have only contaminated love, contaminated compassion, contaminated wisdom, only that. And we think this is real wisdom, real love, real compassion. That's the problem. That's why we cannot achieve the great happiness through this love and compassion and even wisdom. Why we didn't achieve? Because it's not pure, rare, complete those. It's just only some kind of contaminate. So So if I explain a little bit, let's say love. We have to understand what does love means exactly. Love is given nature, radiate nature, radiate light, radiate warmth, radiate kindness. But think about our so-called love is like this. You may think, oh yes. Yes, you think it's yes because there is some degree is really love. That's why you think yes. But is anything contaminated with this? Is there any attachment, grasping, possessiveness? Is contented with this? Then maybe you think, oh yes, maybe yes. So that's the problem. You know, when the water, very dirty water, contaminate, toxics, if we think is a very clean, healthy water, and then you drink it, what will happen? Similar, the contaminated love, we think, oh, this is a really love, and so nice. Then later we have problem. And similarly, the compassion, our idea of compassion is you understand the other people's suffering and you really feel it, and you feel the suffering. That we think is a compassion. Somebody not feel, don't care other people are suffering, but another person really care and feel this suffering and share this. This is great compassion, we think. So I'm not saying this is not compassion. It is, but not the real, true, and complete. Love and compassion, we have to understand like masculine and feminine nature. When we say masculine and feminine, we have to understand this masculine and feminine nature is in many levels. Many levels means the most obvious level, male and female, they're so different, are separated, but they need each other. But other levels within ourselves, within every individual, you have both. That's why you function. So love and compassion is like that. If it's real, but not balanced, and then it's not working very well. So just like we are unhealthy, we miss some, different traditions, they have different names. Not balanced, your health, so your body not function well. the consequence is sickness and suffering. Similarly, this love and compassion, not union very well, not balanced, then not 100% function and not 100% beneficial. If you separate it, different aspects, then this love is feminine and this compassion is masculine. So masculine part should be courageous nature. The feminine part is incredible, giving, nurturing. When we say given, you can say given birth. You know, given birth is a huge given, right? So that kind of nature together then works so well. So usually we don't have this love and compassion, we don't have that. We have only contaminated one. Why we have only contaminated one? We never had this? The answer is no. We had. Temporarily we don't have. Temporarily. Why we don't have temporarily? Because we have too much distracted. We are too distracted means we are too conditional. Sure, we become too conditional, too much rely on all external things. So you lost your own nature. So that's why unconditional happiness, you have to connect your own nature, your own ultimate reality, not this temporary surface of the ego of you. Not ego of us means the surface us. So the ultimate truth, the ultimate ourself is perfect, this love and compassion, union, very well. Okay? So if we connect with this, and then you can call absolute unconditional happiness. Or you can call eternal happiness, or whatever you want to call it. Or you can say immutable bliss, or whatever you want to call it. It's something unchangeable, not conditional. That's why you cannot buy and you cannot chasten. You have to realize. You have different approach, not the other happiness approach. So then you say, okay, tell me in 1 minute, that's approach. So why we say that? Because we get used too much machines and internet, everything instant result. We get used to that. That's why we lost all patience. Huh? So we think, I want now. But unfortunately, this is not, you cannot have it, I want now. You have to do the opposite. Everything you have to undo it. It's not the way of what we doing, what we get used to. So, we could say, this we can do a little bit steps through the meditation. So then you can think, okay, what is a meditation? Or you already think, I know it's meditation. What is meditation? I know. But maybe you don't know meditation. You only know some approach of the meditation. So when you know meditation very well, that means you are already directed to the unconditional happiness. But if you know only some approach of meditation, and then it's still better than nothing. So this is I'm going to teach tomorrow, the meditation. So you can bring tomorrow all of your ideas of meditation, and we can discuss. I'm not saying my way of meditation is the best. I'm not saying that. But we can compare a little bit, because we get used to compare. We not compete, but we can compare. So, what time now?
I don't know. It's 8 o'clock.
Okay, 1 hour?
Yeah.
Okay, usually I talk 1 hour, and then I discuss in half an hour. So we can do that now. You can have question, or you can say your opinions, and you can challenge me. I will be not angry. I will not angry with you. Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
I would like to know what your aspirational prayers are and how I can support that.
Aspirational?
Yes. What do you wish for?
She wants to know what you wish for and how to support your aspirations.
My aspiration.
Yeah, how can she support your aspirations, and what are they?
Okay. my aspirations too big. But I can have small, I can have a big, But my aspiration is change the education. The whole world education system I want to change. I wish I can change it. So why? Because all education I see it as the all let's say, not only education, sorry, all strategies of happiness and well-being we do in the world I see it as we have sickness, then we treat our symptoms, but not treat the roots, the illness. So the only way you can treat the illness through the education. Not just education in a few groups and few people talking something different. Not enough. Have to change the whole primary, the education system have to change. That is the key points. That's I wish for. Thank you.
So if I understand your teaching correctly, to be able to get out of sadness and hopelessness, to be able to do that, you have to be accepting. Is that how you would guide someone like that? To be accepting of...
Yeah, so...
Can you repeat the question for the online? Can you just repeat the question for people online?
Okay. So, if I understood, you say how overcome sadness and despair, depression
is to learn accepting. Is that what I got from your lesson?
So is the acceptance, right?
Because that can be so heavy for one person.
Yeah. So we have to understand who we are. You know, if we try to look who we are, and usually who we are. We are kind of layers of like onion. All these layers is habit. We are just layers of habituation, habit patterns. We are not this body. We are not just the mind. We are not brain. We are just layers of habit. First, I think we have to understand this. Layers of habit means, who you are. First, we have human being habit. Then we have, whatever nationality you are, how you were born, what is culture, or your education. All layers. Everything is layers. Habit. So, usually we can think these habit patterns is just habit patterns, which means you can change. It's not something solid. So if we understand that, and then where this sadness come from? Where the depression come from? It's only this habit. This habit, certain habit says, oh, you're no good. You're no good. Which means you comparing already, you comparing somebody else, or many of, and you just said, oh, you're not good. There is no such thing good and bad if you don't compare. But we have such long habit to compare. And then we have such long habit to idea, oh, this is good, this is bad. Oh, I'm sad because of this so bad. So all of them, if you understand, they're just habits, layers of habit, There is no essence. There is no solid. Just only layers of habit. And you trigger from this habit. So we try to understand, break down, I hope that way, one way you accept it, When before I say, remember when I say accepting without understanding and accepting with understanding, So there's also difference, remember?
Yes.
So even you accepting without understanding is far better than million, trillion times better than not accepting. But if you understand, accept it with understanding means that, oh, of course, this is just a habit. This is only impermanent. Everything, nature. It's nothing special. It's not good or bad, just nature. But, oh yes, but, probably in your voice in your head say, oh yes, but. But when we say but, you are taken away from the habit. Habit say, oh, they already told you, already brainwash you, you meant to have to be this, and this is good, this is bad, everything, that's why you're not good, blah, blah, blah. Don't listen to this habit. Don't listen to this habit. Try to be yourself, be nature. You know? Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you give us a preview about tomorrow's meditation you're going to teach?
Varos.
He wants preview. He wants to know a little bit what you do tomorrow.
That's secret. Yeah.
I've been a student of Buddhism for many years, and I know there's a lot of Buddhists in Eugene, and I'm really happy because I think the Dharma has really brought a wonderful gift to the West. And I think now more than ever, because this deep acceptance is going to be sort of it's something we need to do in community, and I really appreciate Scott for having this because there's so much wisdom that the Eastern cultures have brought to America, and now the West is floundering to find happiness. And we are, the education systems have educated, and I agree with you about education. The main, the idea of a sacred cosmology, I think, is critical because you have it. It's very similar to the Native Americans. All life is sacred. And that's wisdom.
Yes. So first, meditation, I can't teach you tomorrow's subject today, but the only thing I can tell you, I can guarantee you not regret if you come tomorrow. Is that good enough? Okay. Second, the comments. Yes, I agree. These native people. I don't know them, but I heard they are not very unhappy, right? They are okay. They don't have suicides, yeah? So, my guess, if they're thinking everything's sacred, so that means there's some respect, right? So when we say respect, appreciation, gratitude, it causes our happiness. We don't respect, we don't appreciate anything, we forgot, and then causes unhappiness. So that's why maybe, yeah, okay. Next.
I understand that our life situations are not reflective of our true nature, but we live in a time where it's becoming increasingly more challenging keeping our life situations together on a practical basis. I'm talking about the economy of keeping a roof over your head and basic needs met. And in situations like this, sometimes the mind can project into an unknown future, and then a lot of concerns can arise. I understand that our minds tend to project into the future or into the past, and that our mind has a tendency in doing that to sometimes compromise our sense of gratitude and our sense of joy. But nevertheless, it does happen. And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for strengthening that part of us that isn't fearful of an unknown future.
So we have to generate, or we can say reconnect our compassion. So when I say this, compassion, it means braveness, not the compassion and feel inside one. It's not that one. It's braveness. So braveness, this brave, the courageous nature, which means, I'm sure you guys may be familiar with the name called bodhicitta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So bodhicitta means you have to understand is courageous nature. So when we talk about our future, economy, or this problem, worry, that is not courageous nature. So we lack of courageous. That's the problem. That means lack of compassion. So this masculine nature, this perfect masculine nature, courageous nature, we need that. We have to reconnect this. We can say generate, but or we can, it's better words, we say we reconnect with this. We remind ourselves, I am bodhicitta, I'm a bodhisattva. Why I took a vows of bodhisattva? Why I think all sentient beings benefits? When you think of all sentient beings, the ultimate benefits, you're not carried by worry about the, temporary small problems. Because you understand the nature. You are so determined. The ultimate aim. So, everything I think we worry and everything too much and is all come from the habit tendency. How we taught the society, what taught us. You have to think about 24 hours, include television, and what taught you? They taught you Dharma? Or opposite?
Opposite.
Yes, the opposite telling you. That's why a little bit all come difficult because all of this. You build layers of these habit patterns, what they taught you. So, which means you are is taken away from your own roots. You're the best roots, the true roots. Okay, the Buddha nature. I hope this make answer. Yes?
So this understanding, acceptance with understanding, is this truly dependent upon a belief in karma?
Understanding karma is help a lot. But if you can go further, more than karma, then we have to understand the interdependent nature. All is illusion, emptiness, all the stuff. That's furthermore go more than karma. But I think it's good enough to understanding karma is far more good enough. Yes. Yes?
I always deeply enjoy the logical mind of the Tibetan tradition of thinking about these things. It helps to approach it in an orderly fashion. But I was thinking about your definition of happiness. And it reminded me of a group of very American people called Shakers. I don't know if you knew about them, but they had a belief, lifestyle that was very simple. Created things like our brooms, a number of our chairs and things like that people still use. Very simple and very functional. But they had a song that said, "Come contentment, lovely guest, reign unbridled in my breast, thou alone will do." And it sounds like your concept of happiness is a little bit more like that. That alone, let's see, the rest of it goes something like that. That alone will heal my soul. Every passion will control. When the stormy billows blow, thou wilt bear me through. And it sounds to me like that's more in the end of the kind of happiness you're speaking of, not sudden joy.
Okay.
And that's a Western tradition. Doesn't require comment at all.
Yeah, so, I have the book called Ocean of Diversity. When I try to study in the essence, I don't understand, I don't remember our traditions, the differences. I mean, like even Christian, by self, so many inside different branches. So there's no possible, I remember all of them, no possible. And also places, names, no possible remembering. Even I researched, tried to write book many years. But what I realized, so I can argue with any other religion and to defeat them. But if I don't decide to argue and defeat them, I realized everybody talking about the same thing if I interpret it a different way. So some may have a simple explanation, some may have more detailed explanation. But you can see it as the same if you decide in that way. It's flexible. You can make contradict, or you can make they are the same. So in that case, of course, many layers, many surfaces are very different. But the essence, if you take very well, if you understand very well, I think just everybody talking about the same. Whether you call God, or whether you call, soul, spirit, Atma, self, Buddha nature, Tathagata, whatever you call, it's different names. You can understand the same nature. So in that case, of course, the ultimate happiness also same. The problem is that everybody have different names and different way of explanation, and then everybody have different interpretations. Depend on your interpretation, Okay.
Thank you for being here, Rinpoche. You mentioned, you believe the masculine was associated with compassion and the feminine with love. And then you mentioned also the third part, which was wisdom.
Yes.
And just a guess, what would that one be? Would it be the union or something else?
The wisdom always refer to the feminines. And that time, the compassion is referred to masculine. The love is inseparable of the compassion. Okay? But when we talking about love and compassion, we put the wisdom aside for a while, then you can talk love and compassion is like male and female. Yeah. For instance, like love and compassion is like exactly same nature, different aspects. Wisdom a little bit different. But if you go furthermore, look deeper, then wisdom also a different aspects, more deeper level. That's why I refer to the feminines. And the compassion, when they don't call love that term, just say compassion. That compassion is referred to the masculine nature. So, in Vajrayana we have like these unions. At that time, that masculine part always say compassion, or sometimes they don't call it compassion, sometimes call it methods. Yeah, methods and wisdom. The wisdom is the feminine part, and the methods is the masculine part. You see, methods, the compassion, and this compassion when we say compassion and the love, it's still methods, and the wisdom is more roots. The feminine part is more roots to give the humanity, where humanity rise, right? The giving birth from the feminines. So that's why, let's say like this, another way you have to think about wise men know how to use tools, but the ignorance man don't know how to use the tools. So the wise is the feminine part, and let's say our mind, the wise, the knowledge. You can say knowledge. The knowledge is the feminine. Then how to use the tools, you can say the masculine. They together then do very well. But if you don't know how to use the tool there, it's not powerful. You have to know how to use it. So like that.
What is your definition of discipline and its practice?
Yeah, okay. Discipline. Nobody like is discipline. Just joking. Yeah. I think discipline is depend how you see, if you driven by inspiration, then discipline is very easy. And you don't have inspiration, and you see as a rule, obligation, and then becomes harder. So the definition depends on how you like. You like a Spanish way of make a definition, or you want to make the rules, the law, sometimes like government rules you don't want to follow, but you have to follow, no choice. In that way, then difficult. Depend your inspiration or not. You inspired or not. Sometimes we call which means monasteries sometimes have a lot of rules. But depend, like the monk, the attitude. The monk's attitude, oh, this is very holy, sacred, important. These rules, like for our liberation. If they think like that, it's so easy to follow. But if they think, oh, this is not fair, this is terrible, and then very difficult. Then monk is a prisoner. Prisoner in the monastery. Yeah, I think it's a really dependent attitude.
How do you see love and discipline
Huh?
go together?
How to love and discipline together. So it's very, very easy. Because remember, the love is given. And a given and nurturing nature. So you give and nurturing, is discipline is the opposition or helpful? Huh? Definitely helpful. So, yeah.
You were so kind to sit with us, and I wanted to say about the Tara, the noble Tara, the noble lady Tara, the divine feminine that exists so strongly in green Tara, and in general the very high teachings of the high Tantra, which involve the goddess, the Tantra, Tara. I think we really need to invoke Tara to liberate us from all of these machinations, and to find our true nature is really the best goal we could have is to become enlightened and to act in enlightened ways. And but it seems that there's so much ignorance. The darkness of the Kali Yuga is almost overwhelming with the lack of compassion.
Okay, I agree. Anything else?
Dedication?
Okay.
One more.
Yeah. One more.
Go ahead, Scott.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What is the nature of consciousness?
Well, that's easy.
Huh? What's the nature of consciousness?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Consciousness. Consciousness is perceiver, perceptive, perceiver. Make sense?
Perception?
Perceiver.
Perceiver. Perceiver makes sense?
Yeah.
Able to perceive. But how much degree of truth you perceive? Different. Different story again, of course. But definitely perceiver, something you can perceive, not like rock. So okay, so yeah, the weekend we can talk more about the consciousness, and tomorrow probably a little bit more. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So dedication. Okay.
It's on the other side. By all these virtuous deeds of accumulated merit, may all beings be rescued from the ocean of samsara, where the tide of aging, sickness, and death is violently active. May this merit help all beings attain Buddhahood and be victorious over all the enemies of deceptive obscurations. By the goodness of what I have just done, may all beings be separated from my glorious Lama. May I never be separated from the joy of practicing the precious Dharma. May I accomplish all the enlightened Bhumi levels and paths and attain the Buddhahood of Vajradhara. As long as beings endures, as long as beings exist, may I remain and expel their sorrows until they reach Buddhahood. May the precious view of the emptiness of interdependence arise which has not yet arisen, and may that which has already arisen not degenerate, may it increase. May the precious Dharma be respected and remain in this world. The only medicine and cure for suffering, the source of all happiness, is the sacred Dharma. By the power of the three bodies of the Buddha, the immutable truth of the Dharma, and by the power of the inseparable union of the Sangha, may all our wishes be fulfilled. To the ultimate view of the sutras, the great Madhyamika of the Shinton Middle Way, and the ultimate view of the Tantras, the indestructible 6 yogas of Kalachakra Tantra, may the glorious Jonang tradition flourish. Encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and joy. Glorious Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezhi, please remain until samsara ends. Shar, Khentrul, Jamphel, Lodrö, mind of love and compassion, peaceful and gentle in nature, field of manifold appearances, glorious and powerful, great mind of limitless depth, ocean-like treasury, sublime counsel, guiding all beings in a manner suiting their needs. Unification of the three trainings, faith, diligence, and concentration, priceless vitality, courageously manifesting the confidence of wisdom and compassion, creator of peace and harmony, please remain upon your Vajra throne. May your enlightened activities be accomplished in accordance with your great aspirations.